Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iWorkinSport live interview. This is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, their experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. My name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of iWorkinSport, and if this is your first time here and you don't know what iWorkinSport is, we're a platform made to help you boost your career in sport. So basically, we connect talents and recruiters, especially, but not only, through a series of events, while we also promote career growth and education, always in sport, right? So if you want some more information, you can go to iWorkinSport.com. There's our social media channels that I will put right here. Yeah, we're on, of course, YouTube, where you're probably watching this, or on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, pretty much everywhere as at iWorkinSport. By the way, we also have, let me find here, an event coming up. This is the virtual job fair. So if you'd like to connect with recruiters from some of the best sports organizations in the world, don't miss. The event is on the, don't miss it. The event is on the 21st of May. There are discount tickets available until the end of the month. So there's a link in the description there. Otherwise, you just need to go to iWorkinSport.com/VJF, as in virtual job fair. And grab your tickets. Now, let me thank you, of course, for being here with us today. Say hello, of course. If you've coming back, you know how this works. This is supposed to be interactive. I will be waiting for your questions. Let me know where you're watching from, right? We have a very international crowd, a very international audience. Community that always participates with us. So please let me know where you're watching from. Of course, if you're watching as well on YouTube, if you can, hit that like button, that will help us. If you're interested in this type of topic, also subscribe, and you'll get the notifications, and so you don't miss any of our live interviews. Anyway, taking that out of the way, let me introduce my guest. Today we're going to talk with Martin Kaswurm. I hope I said that correctly, Kaswurm. He's a good friend of mine, is a fellow alumnus of the FIFA Master, and he's the founder and CEO of a very successful sports marketing agency called Chaka2, or is it Chaka Squared? We're going to ask him that. He has an incredible career. We're going to dive into that. He's a TED Talk speaker. By the way, there's a link to his TED Talk in the description as well. We're going to talk about it. And in addition to that, he invented a sport which might as well become an Olympic sport sometime soon. So we're going to talk about that too. There's a lot to unpack. So I'm looking forward to the chat with Martin. We're going to get to that right after this. Hello, Martin.
Hello, João. Thanks for having me.
How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, João. Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm very much looking forward to the next couple of minutes to chat with you and get some questions from the audience.
Oh yeah, that's going to be great. As I said, we have a good number of people already watching us live. If you can let us know where you're watching from. Of course, we have Yash Chug, is alumnus of the FIFA Master as well in India. Who else? Sanket watching on YouTube from India as well. Regina Justo from Barra Bonita, Brazil. Mohammed Ali in Delhi. Chinedu watching from Nigeria. Our friend Marcelo Ortiz, not so far from here in Neuchâtel. Mr. Comney in Greece, and Otacílio as well in Brazil. Who else? Hassan Kama. Where are you, Hassan? Are you in Saudi Arabia?
He's probably in Saudi. We had a chat earlier this week.
Well, there's many coming here. We'll talk to them sort of in a bit. But thanks for everyone that is watching now. Martin, before we start with, I have loads of questions for you, and I'm sure that's going to be some from the audience as well. Before we dive into questions, give us a summary of your career, maybe from university until where you are at the moment. I know that you've done a lot.
Well, that's a pretty broad question, Joao, and I mean, we know each other very well. So once again, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to speak a little bit about myself and also to answer your questions afterwards. Yeah, well, where I'm coming from, I'm talking to you right now based out of Salzburg, Austria, the heart of Europe, next to Switzerland. This is also where I'm based. This is where my company is based. I grew up here in the Austrian Alps, and I started my business when I was 23. So this was now 11 years ago, based out of Salzburg, Austria, with the idea of starting a sports marketing firm that focus on sport on the one hand, but on the other hand, on the marketing, brand building, so to say, approach. And yeah, this is what I'm doing since 11 years. I'm sure we will talk about the company in a couple of minutes. While building my business, I studied on the side. So for me, it was always very important in terms of leadership and in terms of being an entrepreneur to educate myself on the side. And I started a Bachelor of Science in Sport and Event Management here in Salzburg as well, because I wanted to find something that ties in easily with my day-to-day business, because I also wanted to have like a fallback plan in case my business wouldn't work out, that I at least have the academic background and a bachelor's degree in hand. Luckily, unfortunately, due to hard work, sweat and tears, and a lot of determination, I managed to grow the business quite successfully, I would say, in the first years. We managed to get some good international clients on board. And yeah, by the end of my bachelor's degree, I decided to apply for the FIFA Master, because I wanted to do a master right afterwards, because I thought if I don't do it now, the business might grow too big that I can't, take a year off, so to say, for full-time study. But I managed to get a good support team at the company, and then my colleagues and my teammates supported me, along the way. So that's why I was luckily accepted for the FIFA Master. Although I was not the #1 candidate, that was very important. So I wasn't accepted in the class right away. I was like on hold, and then somebody withdrew, and I jumped on board. So this was my luck back then. And yeah, I managed to do the FIFA Master, graduated there from 2014, and after that, I jumped back into my work environment.
Great. So you founded Chaka in. So, by the way, do you say is it Chaka2? Is it Chaka squared? Or what is it?
Chaka2. Yeah, I started Chaka2 back in 2010.
2010, and you were still at university then?
Yes, I basically in 2010 I started my university journey, and at the same year I also started the business. So in parallel, more or less, as I said, with the fallback plan, if Chaka wouldn't work out, I can still do something in sport marketing or sport management. I was back then also working for Red Bull, the Austrian-based food and beverage company, the energy drink, and they offer a lot of good opportunities for us and for young people. Back then, they also bought the first soccer club. So Red Bull was on the verge of becoming this, multinational sporting business as well and media business, what they are now. And they, were one of our biggest clients from day one. Right.
And so now, how many people are you at Chaka? Maybe tell us about your work there. So what is your sort of day-to-day running the business, and explain a bit better, the type of work that you do, that the company does. How big is your team? The people that you manage directly, not only the sort of the whole company. maybe you manage the whole company at once, but explain to us your role there, what you do. You're just coming back from Vienna, right? So
Absolutely.
give us a sense of what is your job.
Excellent question. It's an excellent question, Joao. I mean, listen, I started as we started 2 people. We were 2 co-founders, me and my best friend back then. This is how the business started, as I explained before, simply with the idea of organizing sporting events and music events. This was our initial approach. Back then, there was already a little bit of snow volleyball, in the picture, but we can talk about that later. So we were organizing basically very low-key, small sporting events for mainly companies in and around Salzburg, in and around Austria. As I said, we worked for different organizations in the tourism industry, and this is what we did back then. Obviously, throughout the years, we grew to a bigger agency. What we are, I would still consider us a boutique agency. We are now around 20 permanent employees in 2 locations, in Vienna and in Salzburg. But we work with many freelancers. So we do events up to, I would say, 25 to 30,000 spectators in a non-COVID year, obviously. But these are mainly B2B events, but also B2C events for our clients. So we very much operate in the background. So you don't see Chaka2 with a banner or with some, visibility or awareness at an event. We are the guys in the back. So we do the whole event production. We do the brand marketing. We do the strategy. We do ticketing, food and beverage, the whole, aspect that comes with an event. We organize in terms of operations. And this is mainly our focus, what we have developed over the last couple of years. Right before the pandemic hit, we had like a share of international clients, international business of, I would say, around 30 to 35% of our annual revenue. Due to the pandemic, obviously this decreased, but we can now already see the business picking up again. And this is what we do mainly. So we focus on those pillars in terms of event management consulting, but also brand building and brand consulting for clients such as Audi, Adidas, Red Bull, SAP, you name it. And yeah, we have had events in the last 11 years on basically all continents, and all based out of Austria.
Great. Before I go to the next question, I think that's I have a video here that's 1 minute long that I think also gives a very good sense of your business. Yes, super cool, Martin. Well done. Well done. Before I get to the next question, there is some more people saying hello to you here. We have Renata Hotz from here, Lausanne, Patrick in Romania, Chene in Grenada, Caribbean. There's Enes in Turkey, Saulo in Brazil. This is Belo Horizonte. Yes, Saudi. Hassan. Who else?
South Africa.
From South Africa. Yeah, Sanket likes the video. Oh, Mr. Conley already wants to know about the Super League. We're gonna ask him about that. Yeah, please keep send your questions. We're going to talk about them in a minute. Before that, I want to talk a little more about your journey. You mentioned that, of course, you did your university, started the company right when you were starting your university degree, your bachelor degree, and right after that, you went and did the FIFA Master. That's how we met. How important was that for you? Because it's funny because you already had your company, you kind of knew what you wanted to do. I remember very well that as part of well, in the FIFA Master class, FIFA normally offers a number of vacancies or internships to some of their students. I remember that you were one of the people in the class that were offered a position of FIFA, and you declined, and a lot of people were surprised because it's the dream for so many people. But you kind of knew that you wanted to go back to Chaka2 and do what you're doing. So how important was the FIFA Master for you then?
Excellent question, Joao. I mean, after finishing my bachelor's degree here in Austria, I knew that I somehow wanted to focus on sports and sports marketing and really broaden my network, and obviously also gain some academic knowledge in the world of sport. As everybody knows who has done the FIFA Master, it's the focus on sport marketing, humanities of sport, and sports law. And this definitely was missing still in my CV. So I wanted to initially go to the best sports course, the sports master that exists on this planet. So I did some research online. I didn't have anybody recommending this program to me, and I always back and forth came to the FIFA Master. So that's why it was clear to me that I at least wanted to give it a shot, that if I have the chance to become accepted or get accepted, then to me it was a no-brainer that I should definitely go. Not knowing how to manage a full-time study with a full-time role of a CEO. And everybody from my class probably remembers 2014 for me definitely was a challenge, not only professionally, but also on a private level, because it was definitely pretty tricky to be in class from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, and then having to do all your emails from your work and pretending to the clients that you are actually full-time available in Austria when you are sitting in Leicester or in Milano. So this was pretty tricky at that time, because we didn't tell our clients what I was doing. Eventually, at some point, they found out, obviously, and they were supportive. But in the beginning, we just tried to find loopholes around. But to me, it was crucial. It was important because I always wanted to pursue this career within sport. And I knew, as a matter of fact, that this will bring me the network that I needed. And I met fabulous people and humans like you are, and my classmates, and the vast network of the FIFA Master. And obviously my future wife as well, because Marianne and I, she did the FIFA Master a year after me. We are now getting our first baby together. So the FIFA Master was definitely also on a private level a very successful story for us.
Yeah, well, another FIFA Master baby on the way then. Great. You also did an executive MBA at Harvard, right? And you also did another sports and entertainment short course there too. Can you tell us about that experience then? What that added to as well to your career, to your business?
Yeah, a good question again. I mean, I'm a really big advocate for education and for always developing, because to me, like as a person, from my personality, if I stand still, I get this feeling that it's a step back for me. So I always have to invest in myself to push myself forward. And after being done with the FIFA Master in 2014, I decided I had to also, for the team, go back full-time into the business. And the decision that you pointed out before, with FIFA offering me this internship in events and TV, it was definitely one of the hardest decisions I had to take for my entire life, because obviously it seems easy now in hindsight, looking back, saying, okay, you turned down something for FIFA and you pursue your career, and now it's a I would say an okay, successful business, and it works for us. But back then it was a very difficult decision in the age of 27 to do so. But I'm glad I did it, because now I have the freedom and I can decide about my time. And this is the most important thing for me. I don't have a boss, so to say. And this was always my biggest driver and my biggest motivation in being, an entrepreneur. This being said, I came back to Chaka. From 2014 to 2018, I invested a lot of time, 60, 70, 80 hours. I think all the entrepreneurs listening now can see that and can somehow also understand what an entrepreneur goes through. And then I had this urge in 2018 to do another course. And again, my nature is always to strive for the best and see what is the best education you can do. And my dream was always, when I was 16, 17, I told my mom back then already that I wanted to study in Harvard at some point in my life. But I come from a very simple, basic background. My parents are not super rich. We come from a very basic Austrian family from the mountains. So it was always super unrealistic to study in Harvard, where, the university costs a couple of €100,000. But then, a loophole opened up in 2018, where I found out about executive education, something tailored for CEOs, something tailored for people who are in the business world already. And a couple of other FMAs, actually. Diana from Switzerland, I think, did the same course, or is still in the program now due to the pandemic. I'm not sure how it's going, but I applied for it, and I got accepted. I was very fortunate to do it, and it's Harvard's PLD program, so Program of Leadership Development. It's their executive MBA alternative, and you can obviously, if people want to know more about it, find all the information on their website. And this was like a 1.5 year course. With always like 2 weeks at campus, and the rest is in remote studying at home. You have several modules that you go through. And this to me was, again, a mind-changing or mind-blowing experience, because you have a personal coach, you have your personal living group, again, a vast international network, not for so much from the world of sport, more from the world of finance, from the world of corporate business, and obviously very US-centric. But knowing now with my partner Marianne being also Mexican American, this was very important to me also to get a foot into the US market, because in the sports marketing world, within the next 10 years, with the World Cup coming to the US, with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles, and most likely the Winter Olympics 2030, hopefully with snow volley coming to Salt Lake City, there's a big chance. That's why I wanted to get my knowledge and my network within the USA up and running, or in North America up and running. And it already pays off. So that's why I decided to do this. And within Harvard, I just checked for sports courses. And the only sports course that they offer is the BAMS program. It's a 1-week course from Anita Elberse. You might know her. She is an incredible legend within the Harvard network. She does cases on LeBron James, on Beyonce, on anything from the business, entertainment, media, and sports world. And I knew also, once I got accepted, I want to do this course. And I talked to her. I obviously pitched the idea of bringing her to the FIFA Master, to one event. Then obviously the pandemic and all of this happened. But this was my motivation to go to her course, and it was excellent.
That's great. Actually, that ties with a question that I had, because Mr. Comne here says your opinion about the Super League, and I wanted to ask you if that fiasco is you think it's going to become one of their famous case studies at Harvard, or if they only do successful case studies.
Well, I'm sure to answer the question, there are many more qualified people, I'm sure, within the audience who could answer that better from a football/soccer perspective, because I'm not a football manager. From a marketing perspective, and this is my territory, I come from sports marketing. I think it's good that they turned it down. And what was awesome for me to see, for example, was what Heineken put out, like today or yesterday, when they say don't drink and start a league. So these are the things, the reactions that I looked at with my team actually today, to see how now the media and also the PR teams and the fans obviously are taking up the message. But to me, I think it was definitely not a good idea to start the Super League, or to would have started the Super League. And I think something like this, to just come up and not discuss this through with UEFA or with other sporting governing bodies like FIFA, I think is very short-sighted. And I'm frankly very surprised that they didn't have a better plan firsthand. That surprised me most.
Yeah, it was all very incredible. The way it happened and the way it fell in 2 days was amazing, remarkable, really. Martin, before I go to the next question, just Sanket here says that video, it gives him goosebumps. Chinedo here also says he likes it very much. This is Mame saying that I ask good questions, but she is suspicious to say, because that lady is my mom, so she's always watching and saying hi to you. But Bruno here saying hi. Itta Beleng. Sorry if I screw up your names, right? I mean good, but from Lesotho. Michelle is watching from Singapore. And there's another question here. Before I ask Hisham's question, I want to ask the audience a question, because you mentioned that, I mean, you are, of course, an entrepreneur, and that many lessons that you give here are for entrepreneurs. I was wondering if in the audience right now, if there are anyone that, who is an entrepreneur, either watching now or maybe delayed, that could leave in the comments. I would love to hear that. Now, Hisham, you mentioned that you invest a lot in education, and he asked if you think that you must have a master's or a bachelor degree in sport management, if that's an important asset in the sports industry. How valuable do you think
great, excellent question from Hicham. Thank you very much. I think I would say it's not a must, definitely not. I think it comes handy, obviously, to broaden your network, so to say, through the FIFA Master or any other master's degree. It's not only the FIFA Master. I think it's definitely something that helps, but it's for sure not a must. I think you can become equally successful, if not more successful, without any academic degree. But to me, it was the best dive into the world of sport, because I come from Austria, and in Austria, so to say, there is skiing, and then nothing, and then there's soccer, and then the other sports. So because we are a winter sports country, similar to Switzerland. So that's why, for me, simply making those connections within the world of sports, and the FIFA Master is not only a connection into the world of soccer or football, it's a connection to rowing, it's a connection to netball, to cricket, to sports that I would not have even had the access to meet people from Austria. So that's why I think it for sure helps within the network, and also from an academic approach. But I would always take the network over what we learned in class.
Right, great, Martin. Martin, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but you also gave a TED Talk. And I wanted to ask you about that experience. By the way, for whoever is watching this on YouTube, there's a link for Martin's TED Talk in the description. So if you want to check it out later, the link is there. How did that happen? So explain to us, where I'm very curious to know how that happens. Do you pitch yourself? I mean, to give a talk, someone recommends you? Do they find you? Then what?
Great question again. I mean, the TED Talk, or it was a TEDx event here based out of Austria. And the TED Talk was basically on rethinking. So rethinking was the theme. And the university, or the team of university students who organized the TED Talk, they are monitoring, normally, at least this was my case, they monitored the Austrian market back then, and on rethinking and which topics could work. And I was approached, I think it was in 2019, I believe, or like 2 years ago, or 2018. I was approached by this organizing team because they have heard about Snow Volleyball. And in Austria, I would say it's already quite a big sport, with national championships, with a national tour. We have a European tour, we have the World Tour even, but especially in Austria and in the Central Europe, I would say, it's already a big sport with a lot of players, participants, and with the media behind, and obviously sponsors, so from a commercial aspect. So that's why they approached me saying, hey, this could be actually something of rethinking sports, rethinking the world of volleyball, and wouldn't you be interested in tailoring a talk around that? And this is how it started. I think this was half a year before the talk happened. And I was suggested from a couple of people within the team, and then you start the conversation with TED and with the organizing committee. And but to me, I have to say, in my 15 years of professional experience, this was definitely one of the hardest talks, because it's one shot, it's live, it's without notes most of the time, and you should for sure nail it like in that single session that you have, and you want to communicate also a message that works. So that's why I was frankly very nervous beforehand. I really tried to study this TED Talk by heart, and in the end, I think it turned out fine. And it was a good message for the world of sport and for the world of snow volley.
So how was the preparation then? Did you do many rehearsals during the day? Well, the day before, you said that they coach you as well, right?
They offer coaching as well, yeah. And I did some coaching on public speaking and on speaking, in front of an audience. I have that training as well in my role as a CEO, but it definitely helped because they tailor you to that day of the TEDx event. The issue that I had that the TED Talk was on a Saturday, and my business obviously is also very weekend heavy. So at the same day, I had an event with Red Bull where I missed the flower ceremony, of the winner. It was actually a trail running / CrossFit event in Tyrol. So I had to leave the event early to drive straight to do the TED Talk. And this was my preparation more or less. So I think it was good for me that I was busy during the day, so I didn't focus too much on that. But yeah, long story short, I think I rehearsed it 100 times in my head. I did it a couple of times at the event site because you have to come a day before to do a rehearsal. I came a day before, I did my rehearsal, drove to the event, came back. And in the end, yeah, it is what it is. But the message of the talk, and I think that's much more important, is what snow volleyball is about, and with bringing snow volleyball into the Olympics. And maybe we can talk about that as well.
So let's talk about that right now. By the way, well, I watched, of course, the TED Talk, really liked it. As I said, the link is in the description. But let's talk about the snow volleyball then. So tell us the story about that. So how was that created? I mean, how was the experience of working with federations? But let's talk about the creation of snow volleyball.
It all started back in 2008, 2009, right before I started my business, Chaka2, in the Austrian Alps, where my family has a couple of restaurants on top of the mountain. Some fellow FIFA Master students know that because we have been there a couple of times. Back then in 2008, I thought that we need to find a way to attract more tourists in the ski resort. So I came again with the marketing approach, not with the business or sporting approach. And I found out that there's actually a good way to get beach volleyball athletes into ski resorts and to offer some sporting activities for skiers and snowboarders, what they can do in March, April at the end of the winter season. Obviously, if you Google snow volley, you find snow volley tournaments back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So this sport has been around, but it has never been packaged into like a product, a commercial product that could then be offered to sponsors, ski resorts, to media, TV stations, and obviously also to players and federations on the long end. And that's why we started back in 2009. With the first tournaments, one court, 4 players, king of the court, easy setup. And I realized from year number 1, there's a huge commercial opportunity to have this rollout throughout the Alps and have like a tour. And this is what we did in the first years. It was a wild series with no federation. There was no FIVB, no CEV, like the Confederation of Europe. It was basically a wild series. We made up the rules. We brought the referees. I think in 2009, 10, 11, 12, it went on until 2000. I mean, we're still playing. But until 2013, we were a wild series. We had hundreds of events throughout Europe. We went to Austria, Switzerland, Italy, France, Germany, Czech Republic, Slovenia. So basically all over Central Europe, and had our events there throughout the years. Until at one point, we reached out to the Austrian Federation and asked them if they could make this an official sport. And then the domino effect happened. They introduced it as an official sport next to beach and indoor volleyball, so the third discipline. The next federation, Germany, Italy, jumped on board. It took a little while, and also throughout that time, I was studying at the FIFA Master. And within the FIFA Master program, I learned more about federations and how federations work and how you need to approach that. And frankly, I have to say, the turning point was a fellow FIFA Master colleague from Tanzania. And this is really the paradox moment of that, because somebody from Tanzania, where there's no snow except on the Kilimanjaro, proposes something in snow volley. And his name is Nzumbe Nanduga. You know Nzumbe very well because he works for the IOC. And Nzumbe started right after the FIFA
of Roma. Sorry.
Correct. Yeah, Totti. FIFA Master, right after the FIFA Master, Nzumbe started a job at the IOC. And Nzumbe knew about snow volley already. We had our European tour ongoing. And at the IOC, they had a knowledge exchange workshop with the FIVB, with the Volleyball Federation. So Nzumbe was with his team at the FIVB, and they met for lunch, and they had a lunch, and randomly, Nzumbe sits down next to Fabio Azevedo, the Brazilian FIVB director. And within lunch, Nzumbe gives him an elbow and says, "Hey, man, have you heard about snow volley?" And then Fabio, obviously head of the FIVB, like the director and the president, said, "No, of course not. I have never heard about this. And hey, man, you need to see that. Here's the link, this and that." And this is how, in the first place, the FIB top management found out about snow volley. And yeah, then the rest is history. We flew to Rio de Janeiro in 2016. We pitched this idea to President Grassa that this could be the chance for the FIVB to become the first federation that is present in Winter and Summer Olympic Games, so that the athletes could win medals every 2 years. It would be the first ball sport in the Winter Olympics. And obviously, and this is what my TED Talk was about, we could bring the Winter Olympics to the Southern Hemisphere. And this is really the goal that I have and the goal that the FIVB has, and obviously the World of Volleyball, because in the Winter Olympics, only 40-something nations have ever won medals. And in the Summer Olympics, more than 120 have won medals. Right. And we saw through the World Tour that we organized in Argentina, in Europe, obviously, and through our events in Asia, that it's pretty easy for a high qualified beach volleyball team to be successful in snow volley. So we had a team from Cameroon who finished 5th. We had a team from South Africa who finished, I think, 7th. We had the Argentinian girls winning the bronze medal, the first winter sports bronze medal ever for the country of Argentina. Similar for Turkey. So there's a lot of success stories there, and I think a huge commercial opportunity. And if the Olympics are truly open to the whole world, I think this could be definitely for them a turning stone in the Winter Olympics. But obviously, and this is also very open, we face a lot of headwind from the other international federations within the Winter Olympics, because obviously they share a prize pool of TV rights, and it's always not fun to share this with another very, very big federation like the FIVB is.
Yeah, of course, politics is play an important role in sports. In fact, I want to ask you about that, because you have this entrepreneurial mentality, the business, the marketing thing, and then you suddenly have to deal with the federations, the politics. The people who run the federations are there because they are voted by other federations. So how was that transition to you? But actually, before you say that, I just want to mention, it came to my mind, because you mentioned Nzumbe from Tanzania, our good friend. And it's funny how he suddenly fell in love with snow, not only by, finding a chance for snow volleyball, but him representing Tanzania and Nick Lau representing Trinidad and Tobago, yeah. 2 friends of ours that suddenly were in the World Championships of Nordic ski, right? So kudos to them. Congratulations. It's amazing what the sports can do to someone's life. Anyway, parenthesis over. Let's. How did you make that transition? So you go from a very entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, running your own business, working for companies like Audi and Red Bull, very business oriented, and then you have to deal with federations.
I think also the master's program prepared me very well for that, because you get an understanding of how a federation works, how the top management works, how the leadership works, and also how, which strings to pull, so to say. I definitely agree you have to be more patient, but I think anybody who works in a federation, no matter if it's FIFA, UEFA, or it doesn't matter, knows that the things are going a little bit slower there than in the private sector. And I think understanding that really helps, because it sets your expectations on a certain level. To me, it's clear that bringing snow volley into the Winter Olympics is a marathon. And especially now with the COVID pandemic, it will take even longer, because if you go on FIVB.com, for example, and you check their website, you will already see since a couple of years at the top, it says volleyball, beach volleyball, and snow volleyball. So they openly communicate that this is their third sport, and they really want to push this getting into the Winter Olympics. But yeah, obviously time is of essence. So that's why for Milano Cortina, it's impossible. It's too late. We can just use the next Olympic Games in Beijing like we did in Lausanne last year for the Youth Olympics, to showcase the sport. This is what we did last year to the Youth Olympics. We did that also in Pyeongchang in South Korea already. The media outcome was incredible. So there is definitely a huge audience. And I think, frankly speaking, the Winter Olympics could really need a sport that is more, I would say, enthusiastic and takes not a lot of financial resources. You don't have to really cut a lot of trees in a forest, so to say, to get the ski slope in. I think this is a sport that works super well, even in remote or urban areas, like we see with beach volleyball, hopefully this year also in Tokyo. So this being said, I think there is a good chance for us for 2030. And this is what we will aim for. Obviously, knowing that we have to do a lot of grassroots, a lot of groundwork to get thousands of people on snow volleyball courts, work on permanent courts, work on many nations that participate. We have now around 60 nations that play snow volley in tournaments, on basically all continents.
Cool, Martin. Last question about that is, I wanted to know if the recent changes at FIVB, this volleyball world thing and investment from CVC, does that affect you or the plan for snow volleyball or at all?
I think definitely it will for sure affect us. I mean, we're confident, we are very positive to push the sport to the next level. This is our goal. For 2022, we want to come back with a world tour that we unfortunately could not have for the last 2 years because it was simply impossible to organize due to the pandemic. Our big plan is to come back in 2023 with the first World Championship. This is our next midterm goal, and then we are, on full speed for, our, I would say, consideration process for the 2030 Olympics. Great.
Listen, I do have many other questions here, but I'm going to give preference to people that are asking questions here on the chat. So Hassan El Kama asks, I think would be great to hear from Martin. What's his advice for people who have full-time jobs and wants to take the step to start their own thing?
Great question. Shall I answer right away?
Yeah, I mean, if I may, probably I would say that is a good idea to keep a full-time job while you start something instead of, just quit everything and go head on something that you don't know if it's going to happen. But I don't know what you think. What is your advice?
I think obviously this is always a tricky decision, and this is always a critical moment where you need to set your goals and you need to have a certain vision. I had hundreds of leadership talks with former founders who were successful, with founders who were not successful. And I think there's definitely this element of what is your motivation, and this is how I work, and this is how I trigger myself to really see, where do I want to go, and do I have the right support team in place? Do I really have this integrated life that I would need? What are my values and principles in order to achieve what I want? What I can say for sure, no matter if you want to start your side hustle just with like a trial and error approach, or if you want to go full time without canceling or quitting your job, I think it's important for you to understand that you need to put a lot of effort in, that you need to work long hours, long days over a long period of time. So of course this is easier when you are younger because you are more agile, you are more probably more in shape, and obviously your support system is not the same like with somebody who's more mature, speaking about a wife, about kids and family. And this is definitely for me something that was easier when I was 23 or 24, because you simply do your thing and you work hours and your social circle around somehow understands, or because I have to say in the first 2 years, I didn't get a salary. I hardly saw my friends on the weekend. I was basically not out on the weekends. During the FIFA Master, it was the same. Now looking back in hindsight, I sometimes regret that I was working so much, but obviously it paid off on the other hand. But for sure, this is not an easy decision to make. I'm happy to jump on a bilateral call with you to give my personal advice how I would do it. But always taking that into consideration, going into an entrepreneurial career or following the entrepreneurial path, it's very important to understand that it comes with a lot of sacrifices.
Great advice, Martin. Another question here from Mr. Comney. Actually, he or she, of course, it's he because it's Mr. Sorry, is asking. He went and checked out your CV, probably on LinkedIn, and saw that you worked at Red Bull at the beginning of your career, and that's his dream. What is it like?
I mean, working for Red Bull was awesome to me. This really opened up to me the world of marketing, obviously the world of sports marketing, as I pointed out earlier already, because making out of this sugar water, as they say, in the food and beverage brand, they defined the category of energy drinks. Energy drinks didn't exist before. I mean, Monster and all the other brands were created after Red Bull was there, and Red Bull is only 30-something years old now. So to me, Red Bull it was definitely a great experience from a brand perspective, from the brand values and brand marketing. So I learned a lot from Mr. Mateschitz, the founder, and from the supporting team that he has around. And it's not only Red Bull as a brand. I worked very much also, as I said, with the soccer club, with the Wings for Life World Foundation. So there's a couple of side projects or side companies within the Red Bull universe that I worked for. Also the Red Bull Media House, the TV channel. So to me, it was a great experience. So if you have an interest in applying, also again here, reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk to you.
Great, Martin. There's a few sort of messages here, people that are really enjoying your talk. And yeah, I mean, if you're watching and liking this, would really appreciate if you show Martin and myself your love. Hit that like button there. That's helps our channel. And let me just go back to the comments. There is a question from Bruno Placencia. If you're still watching, Bruno, can you maybe rephrase that, because I'm not really sure what you're asking. While you do that, I'm going to go back and to my questions to Martin, as we're kind of approaching the end already. So Martin, maybe an exercise of self-reflection. What are the skills and traits, your skills and traits, that allowed you to be where you are today?
Well, good question. I think also, again, a very broad question. I think I touched on a couple of them already. And I mean, this was not scripted. You didn't send me the questions beforehand. So you really hit me on the spot there. But I think it's crucial, and it's very important, I think, to have the vision. I really, this to me, I'm a person who is driven by a vision. I always compare life with like a wish list that you have to make, and you have to be precise when you want to reach this goal, at what time, at what stage in your life, and how it should look like. So to me, having a vision, having this determination to be hardworking. I would consider myself a workaholic, and everybody who knows me, I think, would probably agree, because I always say nothing comes from nothing. You really have to work hard, be smart. I think you also have to be loyal to your team and loyal to yourself, because obviously without my team, I would be nothing. So the team is crucial in anything that you do. So these were definitely, one of the most important learnings for me over the last years were in leadership skills, self-awareness. I think you really need to have an understanding how you are seen by other people. It's not only your partner in a personal life, but also it's your clients. It's your business partners. So I think self-awareness definitely is also very important. And in working with your team, I think it's crucial that you educate your team, that you invest in your team. I think this is very important. Many leaders and many organizations don't do that to a certain extent. And then obviously you need to ask a lot from you can ask a lot from your team as well, in order to grow as a brand, to grow as a company, and to grow as a business. So yeah, there's a ton of advice that I could give in terms of leadership. But I would say these 3-4 that I just mentioned are the most important ones for me.
Cool. And what are the things that then you look for when you're hiring someone?
I think for me,
to do the job, I mean, more in terms of soft skills, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. I think to me, the CV is not very important, to be honest. I think when I get applications, and we get, like, I would say 50 to 60 applications a week, on different positions. Also, applications to no job per se that is put out on our website. Just people who want to apply and who want to work with us and our clients. So as I said, I don't look too much on the CV. I look more on where has this person been, not in terms of academic, but which countries have they visited? Have they done maybe a sabbatical somewhere? Do they know the culture because they speak many languages? What are their parents maybe doing? Where are they coming from? So I think the story, what the person has behind, is to me more important than a university degree. This is what I can say for sure. And if I can narrow down like my favorites, my top 5, when I have applications for a certain job, then I start inviting. And then to me, it's important how is the charisma of this person? How can this person sell me the product? How is this person also convincing me, so to say, that this person is good at doing their job, and then how is the vibe coming along? At Chaka2, we have a very young leadership team. We have a very young team that handles our clients and partners, but we are a family. So as you know, for example, I invited my top leadership team to the Soccer World Cup in Moscow to see Russia against Spain with the FIFA Master guys. So it's very important to me when I hire somebody that there is a brand fit for us as a company, because they know I expect a lot from them and they have to fit somehow within the family. And then the most important thing is that they come to work with a smile every day, that they enjoy what they're doing. Because otherwise I'm very open with them. I think communication is crucial. We have weekly and monthly meetings with team members. So this is what I'm looking at when I see CVs, when I see people in the hiring process, or my team does.
That's great, Martin. Just so you know, I asked Bruno Plasencia to re-ask his question, but he said that you already answered when you were describing the Snow Volleyball events experience. So that is great. There's a question here from Marcelo Orquis. Any advice for who would like to be a FIFA Master graduate?
Good question. Any advice? I think, again, here, I'm repeating myself probably. I think if you want to be a FIFA Master graduate, and if this is really something you want to pursue and something that you want to tick off your box, I think, again, here, be persistent in what you're doing, work hard, and obviously apply for the FIFA Master. And do your thing. If you want to be successful in the world of sport, keep on working hard.
There's a perfect follow-up for that question here from Chenny Joseph. Then how do you advise persons on their expectations following successfully completing the FIFA Master and then actually getting to the market? And what will you say is the best advice with dealing with the same? I think it's completing, and now you have a degree, and then you go to the job market.
I think it's definitely good, Joao, and I'm making a promotion for you to go to the iWorkinSport job fair, because there is always good job opportunities and offers there, obviously. So no, I think in all seriousness, I think it's important not to pressure yourself too much. I think you don't have to have a job within the first 2, 3, 4 months. I think give yourself some time, no matter if you do the FIFA Master or if you do any other master's program. I think I expect you guys are young when you graduate, so there is no rush for you. Even if it takes a year that you find the perfect job or the job that you would like, be patient with yourself and educate yourself on what your skill sets are, and if you fit into the right mindset of FIFA or UEFA or the job you want to go to. But this being said, there is a ton of options out there, especially within the FIFA Master Network. And if you really want to work for a specific organizations, just educate yourself on what this organization is looking for, which jobs are out there, who is the person hiring actually. Right now within social media, it's so easy to find out the information about the other person. And if you know a couple of personal details, even if it's the HR person knowing how many kids this person has or what their favorite soccer club is, I think this can really make a difference in a personal HR interview. So this is at least how I prepare myself when I talk to my clients, no matter who they are. And I think this can definitely also help you to find your perfect job. But again, here, long story short, I think don't pressure yourself. We had a couple of people within our FIFA Master who were super nervous when they didn't have a job like 2, 3, 4 months after graduating. and now they have a great life with great jobs, and you know, everything comes with time, and again, be patient.
Martin, we've been talking, of course, a lot about the successful examples of your career, everything that's worked out. But do you have any favorite, setback or failure, or however you want to call it, something that didn't work for you, but then you think that you have an important lesson from it?
Well, I think, yeah, of course, like in any successful business story, or any business story, there is always a winter and a summer. You know, there is success and there is failure. And I would definitely say I had my difficult moments as well. You know, I started with my co-founder, who back then was my best friend. In 2017, we tried to we decided to separate, and he left the business. And this for sure was not an easy decision, because after 7 years, when you build up something that we did with all, you know, sweat and tears and a lot of hard work, it's not always easy to make this decision and say, you know what, I'm paying you out of the business. I'm buying your 50% of the share, because this is what we had in the beginning. So I think this was a difficult time, but this is also part of leadership. I think those stories about failure, or those stories about, you know, challenges, really shape you as a person, and they shape you as a leader. And to me, the biggest challenge so far that I had was last year. When the pandemic hit, and I mean, here in Austria and all around the world, events from one day to the other, you know, our foundation of our business, because we do still 90+% of our revenue on events or activations or promotions somehow related to sporting events or events in general. This to me was the biggest learning that I had, and to me, time management back then was a big failure looking back, because I had too many balls in the air to juggle. I was the FIFA Master president for the FIFA Master Alumni Association. I was the state representative for the young entrepreneurs here in Austria. I had my business to run. I had a private life, a wedding to be planned. You know, as everybody knows, life happens, and then a pandemic happens on top of that. And I think this to me was one of the biggest lessons that I had in my entire life. And in hindsight now, I think I was probably not the best leader back then. But of course, looking back, it's always easy to tell. I think we went through the pandemic quite successfully. Also knowing that in Austria we had very good and strong support from the government. You know, we didn't have to fire a lot of people from our team. Unfortunately, we had to downsize a little bit. We also had only like 50% of our revenue in 2020 compared to 2019. So this was definitely a setback, but now we are back on track, and 2021 hopefully will be the most successful year of our entire, you know, business period. So that's why I think we definitely came back stronger.
That's great, Martin. We're getting to the end, almost like 1 hour. It flew by. Serge Assume in Cairo says hi. And just before we go to well, there's a few more questions, and there's some still coming. So if you don't have to leave in 1 hour on the clock, we can do another sort of a couple. Won't take too long. But you know, you've been working in sports, so you are of course passionate about that. Do you have a favorite sporting moment? And I don't know if
favorite
you just
sporting moment,
watching something, or maybe something you delivered, an event. What is your favorite sporting moment, you would say?
I think there's a ton of my favorite moments, but I think one of the most special one that happened quite recently was, I think, in 2018, when we had this first exhibition in Pyeongchang at the Winter Olympics with Snow Volley. Because obviously when I started this, and people who know me better know that I have crazy out of the box ideas and that I'm a crazy visionary. But I always said when I started, and at the age of 22, 23, that I want to bring this sport into the Winter Olympics. And then in 2018, for the first time, we were sort of on this Olympic stage. And then it was a super lucky moment, because we set up a court outside of the Austria house in Pyeongchang, and a couple of FIFA Master colleagues like Emma, and so they came by, people from the IOC, to see actually us playing. And the weather was horrible, so all other competitions in the Winter Olympics got canceled. So the TV stations needed something to report on. And what was there? There was a snow volley exhibition. So I would say, and I think this is not even a lie, 40 TV stations showed up at the snow volleyball court from all around the world. And FIVB to this date still says, from the amount of money that they put into this event, the media outcome is still the best ratio that they had in the history of volleyball. And this definitely was a goosebump moment for me when Prince Albert from Monaco showed up in his car, and then he loves volleyball, obviously, with the big beach volleyball tournament. He jumped on the court and he served a couple of balls with Jiba and then, Emmanuel and the legends from the sport. And this was for sure a very big moment for us.
That's great. Listen, we have two more from the audience. One, I'm not sure if you'll be able to, let's see what you say, because it's very specific about the African markets. I don't know if you have developed any business there. So it's from Hisham. Do you think that the main problem of the African sport industry is the lack of good marketing and business vision, without mentioning lack of resources?
Excellent question also here. And I'm for sure probably not the best person to ask, because our African business leg is not the biggest. But I had my experience also when I was in South Africa for a couple of business trips, and also for CIES. I was at the Nelson Mandela University to talk about marketing of sports rights and new sporting opportunities. And there I got a sort of a feeling for the African market. And I love the continent. I love to travel to Uganda, Rwanda, you name it. So that's why I think in an international level, obviously, Africa is still a little behind in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, the sporting scene and what they have in the world of sport. But I think this is just out of history. I mean, we're the developing nations in Europe or in North America due to what happened in history. So that's why, again, here, I think Africa has to be patient. The development will come, and maybe in 5-10 years, you are up to speed, and then I'm sure you will also achieve bigger success in business compared to what you are doing now. And again, here I'm happy to give my personal advice to you, Hisham, and we can talk about this bilaterally, how I could support with knowledge transfer, because as you know from this last hour, I'm a big advocate on education. I'm a big advocate on training yourself, training the kids, and I think this is what Africa and we all have to do. You need to invest, you need to send your kids to school, you need to send your kids to university, that they know what's happening and that they can bring knowledge, so to say, from the Western developed world into Africa to really build up a stronger continent and a stronger nation. So but I'm sure this is just my take and my humble opinion. People who live and who work in Africa have a better understanding.
That's great, Martin. And the last one will be from Alessio Pietra. How do you prepare yourself before an important meeting or before meeting a new client? Do you have some kind of routine like many athletes?
I think I have a very good team, a good assistant and a good team. Jokes aside, I think it's crucial to prepare yourself. You need to know, like a soccer team who goes into a match, who are your players on the other side? What is the tactic that they could play? What are they standing for? What are they famous for? I actually, as you pointed out today, I had a meeting in Vienna with one of our clients, Accenture, the consulting business. We just won a pitch, and they're a new client of our agency. And this today was our, chemistry kickoff meeting. And also there I prepared extensively in the last couple of days to know, what they want, what their vision is, how we align with that vision. So I can only answer your question by saying that you should prepare in the best possible way. But of course, there are routines, and there are a couple of books and readings, magazines around how to prepare in the best possible way. And this is how I educate myself with, this literature and books.
Great, Martin. I said that it was going to be the last one, but I lied, because there is a final one, because you mentioned some readings. I know that That's you okay. are an avid reader. So I want you to recommend, it's almost like a tradition at the end of the show now, when I ask people to recommend a book or a podcast or YouTube channel, any resource that you find that's worthwhile to people that are watching us.
Yeah, no, I have to say also, in all fairness, the last year I was a little short on reading. I wish during the pandemic and doing restructuring the whole company and getting the business up and running, I wish I would have had more time to read. But generally, in the last couple of decades, I eat books. I love to read, especially big books on business and obviously finance and the sports market. So yeah, I always have a lot of recommendations. Shall I just tell them, or you want to post them afterwards?
No, maybe recommend one or two.
An excellent book that I really like and love is Lead and Disrupt by Michael Tushman. This is a great book. It's about leadership and it's about disrupting the market. And this is something I really valued a lot in the last couple of years, because it helped me a lot also to go through this difficult time as an entrepreneur and as a leader. And maybe a second recommendation, because it's it's very actually in my head at the moment, is Discovering Your True North by Bill George. That's also a good book, and it talks about, again, leadership and you really finding your true north and aligning yourself with your mission and your vision where you want to go in a business life.
I knew that you were not going to say just one, so we will post those. We will post those links later in the description of the video on YouTube as well. So Martin, just there's a few more people saying hi. Johan and Steve, Wallace, and of course Hisham, thanking you. And I want to thank you, Martin, for doing this. It's been great. The time flew by. I want to also thank very much the audience. It was super. They participated a lot today, and it's great to feel that synergy, that people are participating that interview with us. It give us a great vibe, and I know that I'll be seeing you soon in Neuchâtel. That will be great. Then we can talk more and also have a beer together. And I want to say, send my love there to Marianne as well, and I want to see a picture with a big belly as well.
Yeah.
And I wish you both, all the luck in the world. And for the arrival of the baby in July, right?
Thank you very much, Joao. Likewise, the same to Erica. All the best, and thank you very much for the last hour, and also to the audience that was watching and asking the great questions. And again, I'm sure Joao can forward my contact details if there are some specific questions afterwards. I'm always available. Just give me some time with replying, but I will always get back to you guys.
Okay, we'll post that in the description as well. Just don't go anywhere, Martin. I'll come back right to you. It's just that I want to remind everyone that we have the registrations open for the iWorkinSport virtual job fair. There's a special early bird rate at the moment until the end of April. So if you're interested in meeting recruiters from the best sports organizations in the world, let's see, maybe we might even have a Chaka2 recruiting there, although people need to speak German for that. But let's see. I'm going to talk to Martin about it. Let's see if you can meet him and his team in person there too. I won't promise, but I'll try. Sorry to put you in a bad spot, Martin. And check the description, the link below. It was great to see you all, and I hope to see you next week too. Oops. Martin, it was great, my friend. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Joao. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.